for at that moment, a strange noise woke the silence suddenly. It was like a bugle, but richer. "It's your sister's horn," said Aslan to Peter in a low voice, as low as to almost be a purr, if it's not disrespectful to think of a lion purring. For a moment, Peter did not understand. Then, when he saw all the other creatures start forward and heard Aslan say, with a wave of his paw, "Back! Let the prince win his spurs," and set off running as hard as he could to the pavilion. And there he saw a dreadful sight. The naiads and dryads were scattering in every direction. Lucy was running towards him as fast as her short legs would carry her, and her face was as white as paper. Then he saw Susan make a dash for a tree and swing herself up, followed by a huge gray beast. At first Peter thought it was a bear. Then he saw that it looked like an Alsatian, though it was far too big to be a dog. Then he realized that it was a wolf standing on its hind legs with its front paws against the tree trunk, snapping and snarling. All the hair on its back stood up on end. Susan had not been able to get higher than the second big branch. One of her legs hung down so that her foot was only an inch or two above the snapping teeth. Peter wondered why she did not get higher, or at least take a better grip. Then he realized that she was just going to faint, and that if she fainted, she would fall off. Peter did not feel brave. Indeed, he felt he was going to be sick. But that made no difference to what had to be done. He rushed straight up to the monster and aimed a slash of his sword at its side. That stroke never reached the wolf. Quick as lightning, it turned around, its eyes flaming and its mouth open in a howl of anger. If it had not been so angry that it simply had to howl, it would have got him by the throat at once. As it was, though all this happened too quickly for Peter to think at all, he had just time to duck down and plunge his sword, as hard as he could, between the brute's forelegs into its heart. Then came a horrible, confused moment, like something in a nightmare. He was tugging and pulling, and the wolf seemed neither alive nor dead, and its bared teeth knocked against his forehead, and everything was blood and heat and hair. A moment later he found that the monster lay dead, and he had drawn his sword out of it, and was straightening his back and rubbing the sweat off his face and out of his eyes. He felt tired all over. Then after a bit, Susan came down the tree. She and Peter felt pretty shaky when they met, and I won't say there wasn't kissing and crying on both sides. But in Narnia, no one thinks any worse of you for that. Peter, still out of breath, turned and saw Aslan close at hand. "You have forgotten to clean your sword," said Aslan. It was true. Peter blushed when he looked at the bright blade and saw it all smeared with the wolf's hair and blood. He stooped down and wiped it clean on the grass, and then he wiped it quite dry on his coat. "Hand it to me and kneel, son of Adam," said Aslan, and when Peter had done so, he struck him with the flat of the blade and said, "Rise up, Sir Peter Wolfsbane, and, whatever happens, never forget to wipe your sword." I feel like this was one of the biggest things for Peter in this book, and really kind of just set the tone for the kind of person that he was going to become. Now, I mentioned in the episode I did on Aslan called The Lion. If you haven't heard that yet, make sure you go back and listen. But I mentioned that Aslan actually put Peter in a unsafe position here, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. But I find it's often sometimes when we're in these unsafe or even uncomfortable positions, that's when we have a chance to grow. And I mean, of course, if we choose to, and I believe from what we'll see here, Peter definitely chose to step up and to grow in this situation. But then suddenly they hear a sound, and it's Susan's horn. She was in trouble. Peter didn't understand this immediately. The other creatures start to move in, but Aslan tells them to stay back and to let Peter earn his spurs. And then Peter, suddenly he understands. He's like, oh yeah, this is this is my job. This is my job to do here. So he sprints to the pavilion, and Peter, he needed to do this if he was to be High King. Like I mentioned earlier, this was something that he needed to do this in order to become the person he was to become. But it was important for Peter to choose this. And I think what helped was Aslan actually telling the other creatures to stay back and to let Peter do it. And so there would be many more battles yet as well in his life. He needed to do this. This was the first step.